What's going on, guys? It is the Coaster Battleman here, bringing you an awesome video. The top 10 best themed roller coasters at Cedar Point. Now, Cedar Point, they're known for having not the best theming on any of their roller coasters, but if you can identify the theme of their coasters, I think you would be a big fan of their theme. But let's move on. See which coasters have the best theming out of any. Yeah, let's move on. Number 10 is Gatekeeper. And I know Gatekeeper, it's themed to Cedar Point's front gate. I could have put Wilderness Run at number 10 as I could as Gatekeeper. But due to Gatekeeper being a bit larger and the gate really does make it kind of a themed coaster with the keyhole towers above the front gate, I guess. That's kind of like a gate coaster theme. But other than that, there's not really any theming at all on this ride compared to some other roller coasters at Cedar Point. Number 9 is Ruguru, and this coaster actually has a cool theme. It's themed to a werewolf, which is basically for a Ruguru, Rugurus and werewolves are basically the same thing, but I think Ruguru is a solid B&M 4-less coaster, and overall, I think the logo kind of resembles a werewolf that scratched something, is kind of what it is, so it's kind of slight theming. It's pretty cool, and there's some fog that actually kind of goes into the ride, but Cedar Point said it would run with fog, but it's not, so yeah. Let's move on to number 8, Raptor. Now, Raptor is actually, you would expect a Raptor to be, a coaster named Raptor to be themed to a dinosaur raptor, kind of like the Toronto Raptors or a raptor from Jurassic Park. But Raptor is actually themed to a bird of prey because B&M inverts are known for like taking flight. So, same thing with birds. So that's kind of why Raptor's themed that way. And it seems like the right coaster to have a theme to a bird on. Number 7 is Blue Streak. And this coaster actually is kind of hard to find its theme, but it actually is pretty cool because this coaster was named after the Sandusky Blue Streaks, which is Sandusky High School's team name. Now, Sandusky High School seems like a very good high school, pretty large high school when I drove over there recently, but Blue Streak, very cool theme, and it's kind of hard to find the theme unless you know about this coaster as an enthusiast or if you're someone who's known about Cedar Point for a long time and knows about Sandusky High School being named the Blue Streaks. You will know that Blue Streak is themed that way. But let's move on to number 6, Millennium Force. And this coaster is actually kind of an interesting theme. It's themed to itself, and the music that plays in the queue line is actually very cool. I really like that music that plays in the station while you're boarding the train. I think it's a cool song. And this coaster was themed to being built in 2000, the beginning of the 21st century, the century that we all are currently living in. But if you're watching this video and you're living in the 22nd century, this video may be very outdated, and Millennium Force may not be operating 100 years from now. Maybe it might, I don't know, but Millennium Force has an interesting theme to itself in 2000. But other than that, there's not really too much theming with this ride. Number 5 is Magnum XL200. And this coaster actually has a cool theme for not having really any theming at all, because it actually is kind of themed to outer space. Because this coaster is a very fun coaster, has some nice ejector air time, plus, due to being built in 1989, at the time, this coaster was the tallest, steepest, and fastest roller coaster in the world, and it could have possibly been the best coaster in the world in 1989. I guess, because this coaster is known for its very good airtime, especially at the end of the ride. And this is just a fun ride. I'm starting to like Magnum more and more. Plus, this coaster only costed $8 million. That's definitely worth a hypercoaster. Very worth it. Especially from that time of when it was built. It was only $500,000 more than Mean Streak. But this is a great theme to outer space due to being so tall at the time. But let's move on to number 4, Iron Dragon. Now, without virtual reality, I would put this coaster way back and just say, oh, this coaster's themed to a dragon, but there's not really any theming around it besides going over the water. But Iron Dragon actually is, with the virtual reality, shows the theme very well. Because you're on this horse carriage going up the lift hill, and then for like the rest of the ride, you're on this dragon going all over a village, and there's bombs going off all over the place. It's a cool experience with virtual reality on Iron Dragon. Even though you have to be 13 or older, I got to experience it. And I really like the virtual reality on Iron Dragon. That's what makes this coaster have a good theme. But if it wasn't for the virtual reality, this coaster would be way, way farther back. Number 3 is Maverick, and this coaster actually has an interesting theme to it. Because each train actually has a name to it. Like, this train that there's an image of is called BAU, I guess. I don't really know. BAU, I think is the name for it. I'm not going to keep pronouncing it the right way. But if you know what the names of the Maverick trains are, please vote in the comments below. Plus, this coaster is themed to a Maverick, and that's a horse with a running gun style. And this coaster actually has a running gun style of speed and intensity due to its intense bank turns and ejector airtime, intense inversions, launch. Overall, I really like Maverick. Very good coaster, very intense. And it has a solid theme. Number 2 is Vale Raven, and this coaster actually has quite a bit of theming. But you would expect more from a dive coaster when it comes to theming, but for Cedar Point, they actually did pretty good. Because there's actually a game themed to clans, which is kind of like with Vale Raven, being about birds and clans, and being a mythical death bird. It's kind of like a war-type game that you can play. And there's clues in the Vale Raven queue line for the Cedar Point battle game. So, plus with Vale Raven, there's this giant throne that you can see here in this picture on the right. It's a giant throne, very nice looking throne. And I really like Vale Raven's theme. There's a little bit of theming, but not too much. But what do you expect from Cedar Point? They don't really theme their coasters that well. But this next coaster is actually themed pretty well, in my opinion. It is Top Thrill Dragster. This coaster is probably the best themed Stratocoaster out of any of the Stratocoasters out there. Compared to King of Ka, there's like no theming on King of Ka. And Superman, it's obviously themed to Superman. And Krypton, and there's like those Krypton things. I don't really know. But Top Thrill Dragster is themed to drag racing. Compared to the other coasters at Cedar Point, this coaster has tons of theming. There's music playing in the queue. The trains look like race cars. The area where the ride operators operate the ride, it's kind of like in a checkered flag type little area, and it's kind of like a pit stop you're in for the station instead of your traditional station where it's a long station for the train. It's kind of lame and not that enjoyable and not that good. This is actually a cool station, and I really like Top Thrill Dragster's theme. And then when you launch, there's these lights that go off, like 3 red lights, and then a green light that goes off, and you accelerate 120 miles per hour in 3.8 seconds. Very good theme for Top Thrill Dragster. And overall, this is one of my favorite coasters at Cedar Point, and one of my favorite coasters in general. And did you agree with my list? If you didn't, let me know in the comments below, and I'll catch you guys next time. and stay tuned for more coaster countdowns and my mean streak closure analysis.